footnote says, the edicts of 589 are only one example of many of how throughout Europe it actually became illicit to grieve one's losses, as any deep expression of feeling was perceived as an incorrigible adherence to pagan or tribal ignorance, and a blatant refusal to accept the benefits of the true faith. A lot of what little we know of the particulars of the small town spiritual traditions and customs at the onset of Christianity in geographic Europe survives from the written testimony of the minutes of large meetings of Christian clergy intent on eradicating these very same village spiritual traditions, perceived as dangerous, popular pagan competition with the religion of the state. Protestant Reformation did nothing but exacerbate this repression of emotion, perceiving Catholic Christians and others as dangerously flamboyant and excessive. This offers us some insight into some of the reasons behind the otherwise mysteriously consistent distribution of the rampant inability with grief and general hard-faced emotional shutdown that many people descending from this history struggle with today. End of the footnote. God cannot possibly be nourished by humans so unappreciative of the gift of life that they conform to living inside the boundaries of imperceptible gradient hues of cultural mediocrity and think they are somehow more advanced than the flamboyance of an expressive people. People today might think, if they saw someone grieving in the streets, that person just wants attention. They're putting on an act, so every eye is on them. They are grandstanding, etc. And that, of course, is the danger of even suggesting such a course of life, for it would not be beyond imagining that there might be shallow people who, not really knowing the depth of true love and therefore not really feeling grief, would use a fake show of grief to manipulate people for their own gratification or some agenda. Definitely not good. People today might say to themselves, I wouldn't be caught dead acting like that in public. Indeed, if the truth is that grief is not an act, a theatrical exhibit, or the newest pop psychology-controlled therapeutic behavior, then why in the world would any modern person ever want to expose the tenderest, most special heartbreak to the world? Just for attention, I guess. For when love is unreal or love is scarce, attention is mistaken for being heard. If that is truly the case in today's world, any sensitive person would probably say, I'll do my crying in the rain, thank you very much. This is totally understandable. So modern people are not bad or lost. They are stuck in a blast furnace of banality, where all of that technology and so-called advancement have been purchased at the price of their losing the most basic of human prerogatives, the art of being deliciously out of control to grieve their dead. It is a terrible source of grief in itself to not be able to grieve. I don't think the modern person is really saying, I don't want that kind of freedom for my soul, but they are saying, there is no village for me, a village who would not only listen but understand. I have no tribe who would admire the depth of my grief as a praise of what I have loved and lost, and consider it a tribal asset. I'm sure no one out there in the world would pick me as their hero for beauty of my courage to express my love and loss in that way, but much less comprehend that's what they're seeing when they see me crunched down by myself weeping in the streets. At best, they'd pity me instead of admire me. There are neighborhoods and pockets of amazing people, forgotten places and communities that could vie with the old Tsutsuhio. But for the greater percentage of people living in modern monetized world today, there is no village, no tribe, no body of humans that constitute a person's people. What is there instead of is the public. Their world is populated, that's for sure, but not with people who know one another, but with a vast public of unknown individuals competing on every level to get above wherever they have gotten to get away from the rest of the public. In that business in charge world, life is carried out in terms that seem to me not too unlike the same ethos as those used to motivate and maintain a war. Anyway, in this modern business competitive world, people are afraid of the public. They pretend to be comforted by being another molecule in a sea of anonymous human beings. But when the chips are down, their actions say they trust no one and are scared all the time. Therefore, it seems the biggest protection people have adopted is to never look weak to the public, so they don't get exploited. Never leave yourself open. You'll get ripped off. It's your own fault if they take you, if you let them. It is implying, of course, that it's all right for you to rip someone off if they let you. Welcome to Western expansionism on the individual level or on the national, international level. So, how then could a good human, stuck in a society such as that, someone with a really deep soul, a good heart, and capable of love, risk losing their balance on the rung of the ladder they've scrambled so hard to get up, to just weep, sing, go irrationally deep, ecstatically expressing true grief in such a public, without being judged as mad, going mad, or being privately wealthy? I would be mocked and shunned. I'd lose my job. My debts would go unpaid, etc. That's what they would say, and they would be right. It shouldn't be true, but it is. It's no wonder, then, that human beauty and sanity for people today, who would even risk grief, keep their sanity, beauty, and grief all together locked up in a safety deposit box where no one but themselves can see it. Then, whenever they conspire to, they can, in a private moment, look at such riches on their own very lonely terms. So it's definitely safer not to actively grieve in the modern situation. But the modern world is definitely not as sane as it thinks it is to have lost the arts of grief and praise. There has to be a way.